The idea of making art is so intimidating. There are so many supplies out there, and everything is expensive. What kind of paint should I use? Which is the right paintbrush? What is gesso? Today I'm going to give you some ideas about how to make art without breaking the bank. Making art doesn't have to be expensive. I'm going to show you how I start off a painting using items from the dollar store or around the house. I'm Kim. I'm a self-taught, part-time artist, documenting my journey to becoming an artist here on YouTube. Come with me and we'll get this painting started. Making art is all about experimenting, trying different things in different ways and always asking yourself, what if? I started off by going inside myself and connecting with my feelings. Then I journaled a bit, just about the first things that came to my mind. I scribbled the words and wrote on top of them again. The point is not to make it readable because it won't show at the end, but to get some emotions out and put that energy on the page. Then I used a spray bottle to obliterate the words even more. I tore up some packing paper and used some gel medium to stick it in various spots around the canvas. You could also use glue to stick the papers down. I used a gift card to smooth it out a bit, but it doesn't have to be perfect because the edges add some nice texture when paint gets added later on. I chose the spots to put the collage pieces down just by feel. I tried to use various shapes and sizes and to space them out. Next, I put down some strips of masking tape. The color doesn't matter because they'll get covered up later, but the edges will show through and add some interesting shapes under the paint. I had some tissue paper which I tore up as well and added in various spots, again using a variety of shapes and sizes. Then I scribbled around the canvas with a colored pencil, just making random marks. Only bits of these will show through. There are a few reasons why I did this. First of all, it's fun. It covers some space so it's less intimidating, and when parts show later, it makes it more interesting. You could also use this time to get some more feelings out, like making bold, aggressive marks if you're angry. Here I'm using a different kind of pencil. It's kind of like a crayon or a China marker. There are lots of different things you could use here, like markers, your kids' crayons, pastels, or even just a regular pencil. I also collaged on some old book pages in the same way. I'm putting down some black paint using an old butter knife, then rolling it around with a paint roller from the dollar store. And I used the butter knife to add on and remove some more paint. Then I used a cotton swab to make some marks in the wet paint. Sprayed some water to make the paint more liquidy and then tried out a squeegee. I really liked the effect it gave. I used a knife, so why not a fork? The fork leaves interesting marks also. I used a cotton swab again to add a different color of paint and blotted some of it up with a paper towel. I used a dish mop to make some neat marks with the same color. I tried using this tray for the sink as a stencil with a makeup sponge to dab the paint through the openings. Because it's raised, it didn't give me the effect I was going for, but maybe I'll try it another time with some spray paint. It might also leave some interesting marks if I press it against some wet paint. It's all about experimenting and finding out what I like or don't like. Then I used the makeup sponge to move some paint around in other areas. I used the rubber spatula to cover some larger areas. softened some of the edges with the makeup sponge. This is a trowel from the dollar store. You can use it to scrape the paint or also glide it along the surface for a different kind of mark. I have an icing spreader that I love using to glide and scrape the paint around too. I love the marks it makes, especially with this color. I like having lots of different marks at this point, a kind of random, loose and unpredictable kind. Some of these shapes and marks won't show at the end, but all of them are important as a sort of history and energy in the painting. Here I used a kitchen sponge to spread some paint around. I like having the contrast of bold, angular marks and soft blended edges together. And I like seeing the different colors mixing together in some areas. I'm using a plastic putty knife or scraper. This one can give smooth gliding marks or scrape back the paint to reveal what's underneath also. I tried using some string that was dipped in paint to make some marks. It was pretty messy, so I'll think about that one before I do it the next time. I dipped the rim of a cup in some paint to make some marks. I wanted some of the lines to be less defined, so I used a kitchen sponge to smudge them. I tried using a rubber band to make some marks, but it didn't work very well. You can hardly see them in this case. I added some paint with a brush and then scraped it back with a gift card. I like my layers messy and with lots showing through from underneath, with some soft layers and some more vibrant. This is another day and my first layers have dried. Now I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol in some spots to remove some touches of paint and reveal what's underneath. It's a really neat effect. You can also use sandpaper in some places to remove some layers unevenly and see what's underneath. I like the loose, uneven effect when I add some water to the paint and move it around. And the drips look so cool. This is some fluid acrylic that I'm spreading around with the icing spreader. Then adding and removing a thicker paint consistency with my gift card. If I don't want sharp lines in some spots, I blot it with a paper towel or sponge. I like to use the other end of the paintbrush to make some marks in the wet paint. I always get carried away with watching the paint and water move around. It's fun. And of course, I have to add in some more drips. Here we are. It's time to let this dry. This isn't a finished painting. When it dries, I'll decide what to do next. For me, this was a chance to use some inexpensive items and to explore what I can do with them. What I did here was only the beginning of what can be done with these things. My paintings are all about playing and experimenting to see what the materials do. This is how I start. It's fun, a chance to express myself and get out of my head for a while. And I didn't have to spend a lot of money on expensive supplies. It feels so good to try a whole bunch of different things and put them together in an interesting way. Sometimes it looks good, and sometimes it looks less than good. The next step will be to cover up some of the places I don't like and do more of the things I did enjoy. Push and pull until the painting tells me it's done. Sometimes it takes a short time, and other times it takes ages. Sometimes it makes me want to pull my hair out, but that is for another video.